Hi,
Hello.
Sanjay. Hi,
Hello. How are
everyone.
you?
I want to ask you if you know a resource that has good recipes for sattvic food, the kind of food that Bhagavan would recommend.
I am not a cook and I have no interest in food, so I'm the wrong person to ask this question. But one thing I can tell you very clearly is that best for your health and best for your mind is whole meal plant-based diet. You can you can check on any books on whole meal plant-based diet. So, whole meal plant based diet is no dairy, no egg, no meat. And even plant based diet is whole meal. It's not refined, it's not artificially packed and delivered. And whatever fresh you can eat is the best food. And the other important thing is limited quantity, not
Yeah.
that whole meal you just keep filling yourself too much with that. And there's a very good saying that a sansari, a worldly person, eats 3 times a day. A yogi eats only 1 time a day. And a person who has to, um, they say, the person who has to go to death should eat more than 3 times. So the thing is that 1 time a day, one main meal is more than enough. Unless you are into a very hard labor job, definitely you need more. It depends on what you do. And sattvic food is the one which is fresh, pure, locally produced, plant based in a limited quantity. And I think that is the best. And Bhagwan actually stressed so much on food. He said, apart
Yeah.
from your sadhana, your practice, food, because food becomes your mind. And I need to tell you, we sometimes can't avoid eating outside, but eating food prepared by someone with devotion, with love to feed you has a different quality than the food which is being given to you for profit out of it, for money out of it. And that is also so all the food which we eat in restaurants, it can be very tasty, delicious, it could be even whole meal, but intention is different. So intention of the one who is cooking food for you is
Yeah.
also very, very important. So I think the best option for us is that whatever you can prepare at home, um, plant based in a limited quantity, and before you start eating, have a short prayer, and if you can share that food with someone who you think needs food, would be good. So in India, there is a very old tradition that whatever food we make, we keep 5 breads or 5 portions, small portions, to give to one to crow, one to cow, one to a beggar, one to a Brahmin, like that. You share with others rather than just eating for your own self, You
That's
share,
lovely.
you share with others. And if you see, even now at Ramana Ashram, they share food with thousands of people, free food every day. So this sharing of food is so important. If you uh, if you listen to Kabir used to say that you should have enough money so you can feed yourself, and a sadhu, a person who comes to your house, should also be fed. That's all. That's the amount of money you need. So he's not talking about the money for your own feeding. He's also talking about the money to feed someone else who needs that food.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
if you talk about food, a lot of things actually get involved in the food. And definitely, whatever you're allergic, definitely you will be avoiding that food.
Mm.
And prayer makes that food sattvic. So this thing I can tell you, that you go to a restaurant, you go to a place where the energy level is different, because you're not getting ashram food or a temple food at every place. You can do your own prayer, and that can help you, and just eat in limited quantity. Other thing what I believe is good to do is, you can have some fruit or something before you go where you think you will not get the food what you want, and you just go as symbolic to go there and have a little bit there. So that can help you.
Yeah, that's nice. And I also have one more question that's of a different nature. What would you say is the most appropriate application of thinking?
No thinking.
No thinking. So if that is the case, then why do we have this faculty as human beings?
Sorry, what we have?
Why do we have this faculty, this ability, if it
Yeah,
is...
very good question. And look, this ability of thinking is helping you to be individual, to achieve your personal goals, to have your
Mm,
own survival as an individual in this world. That's its role. But if you want to recede to Parabrahman, and you want to merge into, and you don't want to play any more role, then this faculty is of no use. So this faculty is the most important to keep the ego alive, to stay as a jiva, to keep going through this birth and death and performing different activities, roles, and enjoying and suffering, and staying in this ongoing journey. It is beautiful if you understand that this is the way it is. And there are rules to be in that also. Good karma, helping others. It has a beautiful
yeah.
role. But if you have no personal desires, then what is the role? Because this faculty is very good. And I should say, if you see in pure Advaita, we talk about three stages how to reach Brahman, to your pure self. Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasana, which means Shravan means you are listening. So a teacher said something, you hear a Shruti, some saying, some pointers, you listen to it. You listen to it, it looks foreign to you. Maybe you don't understand it because you have your own conditioning of your mind by which you understand things. Perhaps you think this is wrong, and you have no, but then you think, if someone is saying this and they have said for thousands of years and people have practiced and they liberated after following these teachings, why don't I look again? Then that is known as manan. So you rethink. So now you're using the faculty of mind. Definitely, we start with mind, even to go beyond mind. So you
Yeah.
rethink, and you try to understand what it wants to say. Sometimes there's like a hidden meaning which is not coming out because that's not your experience. That is known as manan. You keep thinking about it. And then comes the third nididhyasana, or contemplation. So from intellectual understanding and now to making it your own, you start working on it practically on your own self. And then you realize what the truth is. So in these stages, you can see that the mind is involved. Mind is
Yeah.
involved in first two stages because you are understanding, you're making it intellectual understanding. But the most important thing in this whole process is your faith in it. Because if you're skeptical about it all the time, then the teaching, you will not accept it openly, wholeheartedly. and the problem lies, then you will skip and then you will go for something else, and you can superficially say, oh, it doesn't work, it's not of use or whatever, because you are having a different mindset. So to make that your own, we use a term atmasat, you make it your, imbibe in it, live in it, and then you experience that. And that's why in Advaita, repetition of the same saying, same wording again and again and again is very, very important. And I would recommend the best book in that case is Ribhu Gita. Ribhu Gita is a book in which it keeps repeating the same thing again and again. Like people say, I'm not the body, make it like a mantra. But it's so boring, you know. I'm not the body, I'm not. And if you keep repeating like this, not understanding, it's of no use. And you are doing all the acts as if you are the body and so much attached to the body. And then keep saying, I am not the body, it's not going to help. But your actions should show that you actually mean it, because when afflictions to the body, you don't get perturbed. So see where the energy goes. If something happens and it makes you agitated or restless, that means the teaching has not percolated in your own beingness. Still, it's just a teaching, but you get agitated by everything. And so the process is slow cooking.
So it's right thinking leading to no thinking, or in other words, right mindedness leading to no mindedness.
Yeah, so you contemplate on those facts which you have understood and try to follow it, make it your own, and see how we are behaving in day to day, because all the time there are challenges in life. If you see, you know, life is not harmonious, what your mind, your ego feels, and things keeps happening that way. And that's actually a blessing, because it challenges you that you are not in ego mode, you're not at the level of total acceptance. That's why you are getting agitated, because if things happens the way we want, then we are always happy. There's no problem. But look, this is the thing, impermanence of things, transitory nature of things. You can love someone, you can do best for the person, and one fine day he can give you a phone call that I'm leaving you. And then you start fault finding in that person and in yourself. What wrong I did to this person? You know, I loved from my heart, I did my best. And you can ask this question to that person, why you did this to me? And he or she can say, oh, look, the life was static, boring, I found someone else, I have different interests now. Because this is what the transitory nature, everyone has been given this mind. They think with their own mind. You can't say their mind is right and you're or wrong, or your mind is right. It is just the changing nature of this world. Everything keeps changing. Nothing is same. Nothing is permanent. And when you understand this, then your journey goes within to find what is permanent, what is eternal, which never changes. And that which never changes gives you peace. And I'll tell you, everything which changes is not peaceful, because you start loving that moment, but that moment doesn't last, and then the next moment comes. So, so even these spiritual experiences, when a seeker gets on path of spirituality, they are also not static. One day you are in bliss, you do meditation, you feel so much of happiness, peace. Other day you are sitting and then there are these thoughts coming to you from nowhere and you get disturbed. And you want that experience again, and that is the problem. If we are not after any experience, anything, we don't expect anything from anyone. And the second rule is we are in total acceptance. Then nothing needs to be done. But this whole game of not expecting and accepting whatever it is takes whole life. That is practice, that is sadhana.
Yeah.
The other day, this
Yeah.
guy was asking instant enlightenment as if we are addicted to instant coffee, fast food, we don't have time. But who is looking for instant? Who wants to be free? If you focus on your own self, then you realize that this duality within us, the one who is trying to be free, at that level from where you are asking, where you want to be free, you will be in bondage.
Well, the only thing that can be enlightened is the mind, because the self is already
Correct.
it.
Yes, yes. And because we are associated with mind, there are two ways to do it. One is you merge your mind in that absolute, and then the mind is not creating any tantrums to you. But if you detach yourself from mind and whatever it doesn't affect you, then you are free instantaneously. But can you do that? It is easy to say than to do it, because when the thought comes, people get just, sometimes you can, but other times when it's a tsunami of thoughts or emotions and feelings and we get drowned, then you need
So it's
someone.
almost like you're treating the mind as another person that you absolutely accept and love, and you don't mind it, essentially.
Mind, you can't be in love with mind. If you're in love with mind,
Mhm.
then you will be accepting, you will be listening to it, and then you can do all the wrong things what the mind is saying, because
Mm.
love is blind. Mind will say
Yeah,
something
sure.
stupid to you and you will start doing those stupid things.
What I meant by that is what thoughts are coming, you simply don't mind that they're there. You don't try to push them away or anything. You just are unemotionally unaffected. Is that it?
But then you're putting another thought to counter
Yeah,
that thought. Then you are still in between thoughts, you're choosing a positive thought to a negative thought. And that's what all the psychology is. It's all playing at the level of mind only. But if you have to transcend mind, then treat your mind as a bad neighbor whom you can't be friend, you can't be enemy. You have nothing to do with it. When you have
Mm.
nothing to do with it, and that is like ignoring it. So it is making its noise and you're ignoring it, then you can be free. But remember this, one, you are ignoring these negative thoughts which are disturbing you. But what happens is then you accept all the thoughts which are praising you
Mm.
or good thoughts, and you are selecting. So, like you are trying to get from the garbage some good garbage than bad garbage, but it's all garbage. So, what would you choose when you are ignoring the mind? What to choose? Nothing.
Nothing.
And what that nothing is you. That nothing is that silence.
Mhm.
But to anchor into that silence, you have to know what that silence is. If you don't know, if you don't have that anchorage into that silence, then you will always be in mind, because what this awareness is doing, if this awareness is uninvolved in that silence, then it is already free. But if it has some association with mind and it does not know anything except mind and thoughts, then how to get out of the mind? There is no way. So you have to transcend that stage or that level from where you operate. If you operate within mind as an ego which is accepting these thoughts as mine, then they will always disturb you. But if you move to a higher plane within you, where everything is you, but you are nothing, if you understand this. I'll give you an
I do.
example. When we dream at night, we see a dream, and dream looks so real. And in dream, someone can insult you, and when you wake up in morning, your heartbeat is still fast, you are sweating. So it looks so real that it has happened. You are still in that aftershock, what you saw in the dream. And you can still have animosity against that person. So that person is sleeping in his own house, but it has affected you. Same is here. There are so many beings appearing in this and your interactions. But understand it is all projection of the mind, your own mind is creating you as an individual and then other entities, and then there is an interaction, a situation, and we get completely lost. It is like a biggest illusion. I would say God is the biggest illusionist. To get, to get out of this trap, you need grace. And you need to stop playing that role, what you're playing, that doership.
Yeah.
And when you give up that doership and you have faith, then grace dawns on you. Then you get that param shanti, that supreme peace comes to you. It comes to you not as from somewhere external, it is always there. But because we were creating that noise and we were interested in that noise and we wanted to prove something to this world, I'll tell you, whom are we trying to impress upon? This is our own creation of our mind. And we are trying to impress people of our own creation. What a pity.
In our attempts to make it real to ourselves.
So, at that ego level, there is separation and duality, and that is the only cause of suffering, nothing else. When you understand this game, and you can understand this game only when you get out of the game. Intellectual understanding while playing the game can never liberate you. You can
Agree.
read books on Vedanta. You can have an intellectual understanding and big terms you can know and you can give lectures. But are you free? I also want to point out a very, very important thing. Sometimes we all have some experiences like a Satori, they say, sudden enlightenment, instant enlightenment. And people might have seen you go to a teacher and you get into that silence. But then that silence goes away because we have given so much of work to the mind. It comes back. When it comes back, now you had that experience of silence. Just be with that. Let mind do its tantrums. And this period of darkness in that silence happens with everyone. Because to burnt out all that, it takes time. So
What do you mean by that?
because the mind keeps playing. You have given so much to the mind that instant enlightenment is of no use. You get dragged into your thoughts again and that doership. And there comes this practice of holding to that silence in your heart, being with that.
I feel for me that's the catch. I try to hold. Whereas my experience of it is when I don't, it is, I mean, in I hold on to the silence, but I feel like I'm actually not holding on to anything. And I'm floating and everything has stopped in a way. But when, like the classic thing with me is like, for example, even if I play a mantra, say, and it has a certain euphoric effect, and maybe I, join and chant along. One activity is this. This euphoria could then bring me to a path of thinking and out of the silence.
You know, we talk
John,
we talk about holding the silence and coming out of the silence, but you are that silence. We when we get out of it means we get back into the mind and we get deluded.
yeah,
So it is a state of more awakening, I should say, more awakening than in awakening what we see when we are awake, and more vigilance in which, um, but it's not a paranoid state in which you are just watching thoughts and you are witnessing. No, it's not like that, because you have no interest in anything. Bhagavan says beautifully, and I'll tell you, this is the best way to completely detach it, disinterested action. And we
yeah.
and we do actions only in which we have passion. All of us. We do
I feel that's
something.
it for me.
We say, "Oh, I have passion. I've done it," and look, and we love that recognition we get after doing that work. Whether we get a certificate, a medal, some recognition, and then if we have so much of involvement in something with passion, we do, and we do it nicely. But when an obstacle comes to what we are doing, we get angry and upset. Or if we get discredit with when we are doing from our heart. So this is all trap. We are still in so much of doership, and then we think we are free. So that instant moment of whatever silence is of no use. People don't understand this. There is there's a monumental big difference between a sansari and a sannyasi or a sadhu, a real sadhu. I'm not talking about changing clothes, but the internal software is completely different. Whether the body is doing action or not doing an action, that is not an issue. From where you're perceiving things.
Hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. So many people come to spirituality because they are very disturbed with recent breakup or some tragedy. And I see this sometimes as blessing in suffering, but moment the mind settles, things getting better, they get again involved in the same crap. And then you will see next time when there is a suffering, maybe not to the same teacher, maybe to something else. If people think spirituality is all about having a calm mind and then indulging in what we want to indulge and achieve, then I would say better to use techniques which works at the mind level, because when you know this self, all your dreams to achieve, to be, to become will all drop. Basically, you will become useless in that sense, because all what we try to achieve is to get happiness out of it. And now you know you are that supreme happiness. You don't have to do even move your finger to get that happiness. And you know all these people whom you want to impress are your own projections of your own mind. Your life becomes still from within and so many times from outside. This stillness appears to be coming from somewhere else, because this stillness you have never experienced. We have only experienced what mind shows us: waking, dream, deep sleep, and it continues and continues, and never ending thoughts, never ending desires, attachments, repulsion, maybe less attached or more attached. Sometimes we think we are free, nothing affects us, and then something comes to us and we get completely drowned. That is a myth buster to ego, that there is so much to sort out still. Who knows this? The one who is in path of extinction of ego. He can understand, and he has gone through it, and everyone goes through it. Duality is the first sin and the only sin. And this duality comes with this birth of the body and our recognition with the body and mind as me. So much so that all the time we are worried about this mind, because it is a gadget given to us, which we take it as me. I want to say that please take it as that this mind is not you, and this mind is not for you. Because mind is for that entity which thinks I am this body mind. And that is also creation of the mind only. Exactly like in your dream, your own mind projects a body and other bodies and a situation. Right now, it is doing the same, giving you a body, others, and a situation. When we are attached to something, how can we detach and attach to something else? when we see more profit in that. Let's say you have a job, you go to next job, leave this job when you get higher salary, more perks, or maybe less work with more money. You always judge, then you leave this and go there. Where you are sitting, you have to leave this place. You can't fix this place. This place is unfixable. You can't fix ego. You can decorate, you make it better, better ego, nice person, helping others. You're decorating a corpse, it will be dead soon. Then what? Because you were decorating this corpse, you will get another body. It is unending. It can continue millions of years. And freedom is now in this living body when you know that you are not this body. But this knowing is not at intellectual level. It's not a mantra. You know, when a sannyasi, a hermit, leaves home, goes to a cave, lives in a forest, it is very much symbolic that he has given up whatever this doership was going on in life. I would say we should all do that, but instead of going to the cave in a forest, you go into the cave in your heart. Just be there and give this promise to yourself from now onwards. I will be in this acceptance. Whatever comes to me, I'll accept it. And then the mind will come back. No, do this, do that. You should do this. And then you get again dragged into it. For a Western mindset to understand this is very difficult because so much of doership is there. Because modern society recognizes and credits people who are big achievers. State level, they recognize these people. So everyone thinks that I should be the doer. And in this doership, we do so much of harm to others for our personal gain. In India, in ancient days, spiritual seekers, they used to live in forest. Or if they were not staying at a place, they used to go through a forest and sometimes a village comes through. And they never asked food from anyone. There are ways, like sometimes you can beg, but they used to just keep walking. But people were so kind, they used to give them food. Perhaps even now, a sadhu walking in India, perhaps people will still give him. But not in all parts of the world. If you're just walking, nobody will ask you whether you have eaten or not. I heard a sadhu in Rishikesh in India. A simple question was asked to him that if you don't ask and nobody gives you food, then what do you eat? He said, I eat my hunger. See the humility, see the level of that pure intention to accept things as it is. And here we get annoyed by small things. Because what annoyance is when a thought comes about things liking and disliking, that's what it is. And to be honest, even in a satsang, most of us still love our mind, wants to use it for our personal achievements. What are we giving up? Nothing. This fake type of satsang is useless, where the individual identity is persisting. And so, all these techniques of leaving home, living in a forest, leaving everything, leaving your personal goals used to help. Here, we are living in a house with family and whatever we are doing, and then we want to get liberated out of it. We have to work hard. Actually, harder than the person living in a cave in a forest, because there nobody is disturbing him now. So now he only has to deal with his mind. Here we have to deal with everything what mind is showing us. Our work is much more intense. So our effort should also be pure and 100%. Nothing comes easy. Though for Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi it happened like that. But if you see, to imbibe in that self realization and to get completely absorbed in it, for few years he was not even talking to anyone, living in cave. His body was eaten by insects. Someone came from somewhere to feed his body. When he started speaking again, he could not. It was so difficult for him to start speaking again. When we can relate our life as a blank page, then we are liberated. Self has a different energy altogether. Self is no person. It does not relate as ego relates. It cannot say, these are my friends, these are my enemies, this is my family, this is my job, these are my 1 year goal, 5 year goal, 10-year goal. It does not know anything. As a matter of fact, ego knows much more than self. Self is most humble. Self is formless. It does not even have a clue where it starts, where it ends. And in self, nothing is happening. And in that nothingness is all this bliss is sprouting, infinite bliss. And you cannot compare it with anything which is worldly. Abiding in ego is invitation to death. Abiding in self is immortality. You cannot compare the two things. Ego works only at level of mind, and self is known when the mind is extinct, when you're beyond mind. If you see in Advaita, there were ashrams, people were brahmacharis, they were spending 10, 15, 20 years with their teacher, serving their teacher, respecting, having that relationship, and then the knowledge comes after so many. It is a process. Whole life is needed for that. It is not touch and go. When there is so much of judgment, we are skeptical about things. We are so much opinionated. We can comment on everything. We think we are smart. You can live millions of life like that, but there'll be no freedom. Because freedom is from that what we think we are. It is your internal freedom, nothing to do with the external world. The external world is your own projection. When we see bad stuff, it is coming from us. We see good stuff, it is coming from us. Whom to blame? Whom to give credit? The best teaching is that it is only you. Find yourself. Only you exist, nothing else. You, that pure self. We have to use this term pure because otherwise people will take their ego as their self. People love to do action, karma, but if there is so much of intention in karma, either you give all your actions to the divine, whatever is happening, and you stay as a witness, then you can be free even with karmas. But if you put lot of intentions and desires for it, then you will be bogged down by so many thoughts, unending thoughts. During Bhagavan's time, Annamalai Swami was given all the work to construct buildings at ashram, and he did it day and night. The moment he used to come to hall to meet Bhagavan, Bhagavan started talking about building and construction, which used to annoy other devotees sitting there. They said, "We are here for that pure bliss to know self, and you are talking about buildings." Bhagavan used to say, "What can I do?" He comes with all these thoughts to me about building. Even he involves me because he's so much into it. It's full of thoughts of building only. Each and every moment of Bhagavan's life is a teaching for all of us how to be free. And I would say how free you feel you are, and enlightened and liberated. But still, whether you agree with me or not, but hold on to that guru or teacher, or that anchorage should be there, because you are your own judge. You know yourself more than anyone else. But I am only interested that you should be with truth always, not a fake enlightenment or fake realization, or maybe some realization and then you are again drawn and then thinking you are still free. So hold on to that absolute truth, whatever you feels. In initial days, it is best to keep checking yourself with teachings. If you read Ashtavakra Gita, when Janaka had this instant enlightenment, Ashtavakra asked him all these questions to know whether he is talking from his ego, it is just an intellectual understanding, or has he gone deeper. So for you, your Ashtavakra can be Bhagavan's teachings. Test yourself with everything and keep checking yourself. I'll tell you a very important point which can help you. It is only ego which chooses thoughts. Self is a choiceless awareness which neither accepts nor rejects. And because it is in that mode, Thoughts have no value. So many people love drinking alcohol or eating meat or whatever. And then there is another group which hate these things and keep doing propaganda against these things. In a way, they are both attached to it. Self has nothing to do with anything. Self is not reformist. All reformists are full of big egos. And a better term can be good egos, maybe you can say. I don't know. So be in that neutral, equanimous self because it knows whatever is projecting outward is all illusory, changing. It has no interest in anything. Nothing excites and nothing depresses. No personal goals, no person, only presence in a body as long as body lasts. And then the presence just continues. That is why a teacher, a guru never dies because he or she has known that which is not body. And it is as powerful as before, perhaps more powerful now without body because it is everywhere. That energy is everywhere all the time. It doesn't matter when that teacher was born or when he left body. People talk about living guru. Guru is always living. If you make Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi as guru, he is living. He was never that body. All this satsang, all what is happening is because of that energy. Do you think we are capable of doing anything? No. It is that pure energy which is bringing us, and that is grace. And because of that grace, that opening is happening. Don't give credit to your karmas or good actions and that has brought you here. No. It is only grace, kripa. How to be more in company of Guru, teacher, so more grace comes to you. I would say don't create your own little kingdom of your ego, your mind, of doership. Recede completely into this silence. Allow that Bhagavan to speak from your heart. Listen to that silence all the time. Give away your role playing. The whole world would be saying that you have this profession, this family, this doership, but you should have no clue. You should completely merge into Absolute without any trace of yours. If someone comes, a divine detective, to find you, they cannot. Finish your story before this body dies. Then only you can be free. If you keep the story alive and the body dies, then the story continues. See how many times we use I am doing, I have done, I did, I went, I, all the time, as this identification with the story of this body is bondage. Recede and go back to the source and be there always. This is sadhana, this is practice. Be one with that, no duality. And no cost is heavy price for it. Whatever it needs, do it. You should be like a lover who cannot tolerate separation. Stay in your heart. When you stay long enough in your heart, mind which you are not using because it's an empty home, there is no doership. You can call it merges or it disappears, who knows? But now you know there is no noise. But no you. But still things continues. And this is the time when you really know in truth that things just happens. No one to blame, no one to give credit. That small ego was taking credit. What a shame. Just because of thoughts. And there was a listener to those thoughts. Listener goes away, thoughts goes away. You have to make efforts to break this knot. Give up this relationship with mind. Mind and ego is same. Om Shanti Shanti.